The harder you push, the more stuck it gets. That sounds backwards, but it is exactly what happens inside your body when stool sits too long in the rectum. Most people believe that pushing harder is the answer. Push harder, drink a glass of water, wait a little longer, but pushing harder against a blockage that is already hardened does not clear it. It raises pressure against a wall that was never built to take that kind of force, and in the worst cases, that wall gives way. I have seen this in patients who came in embarrassed, in pain, and dealing with something that could have been avoided weeks earlier if someone had simply explained what was happening inside them. Hello, welcome to this channel. My name is Dr. Mandell. I'm the digital twin and virtual host of this channel. All data in this video is based solely on current proven scientific research. I rely only on what has been tested, not on rumors or generic advice from the internet. This video is for informational and educational purposes only. Let's talk about what is actually happening when stool gets stuck in the rectum. The rectum is the final chamber of your digestive system. It sits just above the anus, and its job is to temporarily hold stool until your body signals that it is ready to release it. Under normal conditions, this is smooth and automatic, but when stool sits in the rectum too long, something breaks down at the mechanical level. Water keeps getting pulled out of that stool the entire time it waits there. The longer it waits, the harder, drier, and denser it becomes. Once it crosses a certain density, the normal soft contractions of your colon, the gentle waves that are supposed to push everything forward, simply cannot move it anymore. The system stalls. Think of your rectum like a mailbox that was only ever designed to hold letters for a day or two. If mail keeps arriving and nothing gets collected, it does not just sit there quietly. It piles up, jams the slot, and eventually the box itself starts to bend under the pressure. Your rectal wall works the same way. It stretches to accommodate what is inside, and that stretching activates stretch receptors in the wall. Those receptors send a signal to your brain telling you it is time to go. You feel the urge, you sit down, and often little to nothing happens, or maybe a small amount of liquid stool leaks around the blockage. This is one of the most dangerous and most misunderstood signs of this whole condition. Liquid leaking around a hard blockage is not diarrhea. It is called paradoxical diarrhea, and it looks exactly like a stomach bug. That is precisely why so many people treat it the wrong way. Let me walk you through the timeline because understanding the sequence is what makes this stick in your memory. Day 1. Stool that should have moved along stays put. It is still fairly soft at this stage, and most people feel nothing unusual. Day 2. Water continues to be pulled from it, and it starts to firm up. You might feel a little more pressure than usual, a sense of fullness that was not there before. By day 3 or 4, the mass has become dense enough that your colon's normal contractions cannot push it forward anymore, and this is the point where symptoms usually become impossible to ignore. Bloating sets in, a heavy dragging sensation appears low in the abdomen, and the whole system essentially waits for outside help. Whether that help is a change in habit, a stool softener, or in more serious cases, a medical procedure. Understanding this timeline is exactly why acting on day 1 or 2 rather than day 4 or 5 makes such a large difference in how uncomfortable this becomes. Now let's talk about what you are probably doing wrong, and I say this with real empathy because you were taught to do these things. The first mistake is treating that liquid leakage as diarrhea. People reach for an anti-diarrheal medication, which slows the gut down even further and locks the hard mass in place even tighter. If you or someone close to you has liquid stool but has not had a normal complete bowel movement in several days, that combination needs medical attention, not an over-the-counter remedy. The second mistake is straining harder when nothing comes out. In a portion of people, especially after age 50, the muscle that is supposed to open during a bowel movement actually tightens instead. This is called dyssynergic defecation, a mismatch between the muscles that push and the muscle that is supposed to release. The harder you push against a muscle that is clenching shut, the tighter that seal becomes. You might think this does not apply to you because your problem feels like a slow gut rather than a muscle problem, but here is the trap. Most people never test this. They just assume more fiber and more effort will eventually solve it. The third mistake is ignoring the urge to go because you are in a meeting, traveling, or simply somewhere inconvenient. Your body gives you a window. Every time you override that window, you are training your rectum to stop sending that urgent signal with the same intensity. Over months and years, the threshold shifts, stool sits longer, and it dries out more each time. The fourth mistake is assuming this is a problem only for older adults. Yes, older adults are affected disproportionately because colon contractions naturally weaken with age, hydration often drops, and fiber intake tends to fall. Certain medications make this worse too. Opioid pain relievers, some antidepressants, iron supplements, and calcium channel blockers used for blood pressure all slow gut motility significantly. The younger people are not immune either. Prolonged immobility, dehydration during illness, and low-fiber diets can set the stage at any age. There is a fifth mistake worth naming, and it is one I see constantly. People reach for a stimulant laxative from the pharmacy and use it night after night for weeks or months because it works quickly and reliably at first. The problem is that these products force the colon to contract through direct chemical irritation of the wall. Used occasionally for a genuinely stuck situation, that is reasonable. Used continuously, the bowel begins to rely on that outside stimulation and gradually loses some of its own ability to contract on its own. The nerve endings in the wall become less responsive over time. So the person who started taking a laxative twice a week ends up needing it every single day just to get the same result. And eventually, even that stops working as well. If you are currently relying on a stimulant laxative regularly, do not stop abruptly. Introduce the habits I'm about to walk you through and taper the dose down gradually over several weeks while your colon relearns how to contract on its own. Now let's get into what actually helps. And I want to walk you through this in order morning to evening because the sequence matters as much as the actions themselves. In the morning, before breakfast, before coffee, take 1 teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil on an empty stomach. I want to be very clear about what this does and does not do. Olive oil is not a treatment for severe or complete blockage. If you are in significant pain, cannot pass anything at all, or have signs of obstruction like a hard distended abdomen, this is not the moment for a home remedy. That is an emergency room visit. What we are talking about here is the role of olive oil in supporting rectal motility and softening stool in cases of early or mild constipation. Olive oil is rich in oleic acid, a monounsaturated fatty acid. When oleic acid reaches your small intestine, it triggers the release of a gut hormone that stimulates gallbladder contraction and digestive enzyme secretion. And it also has a direct effect on gut motility. On top of that, olive oil has a lubricating effect on the intestinal wall, reducing friction and making it easier for stool to move along. Research published in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics found that olive oil performed comparably to mineral oil for constipation in dialysis patients, a group in whom constipation is common and notoriously hard to manage. 1 teaspoon, taken consistently on an empty stomach, can be the difference between a bowel movement within 30 to 60 minutes and a day of discomfort and frustration. 20 to 30 minutes after that, eat a real breakfast that includes both types of fiber because this is where most people go wrong. When people hear the word fiber, they picture a bowl of bran flakes, add a small amount, see no change, and give up. But fiber comes in 2 forms and you need both. Soluble fiber found in oats, apples, and flaxseed absorbs water and forms a gel that softens stool. Insoluble fiber found in whole grains, vegetable skins, and wheat bran adds bulk and speeds up transit through the colon. The average adult gets around 15 grams of fiber a day. The recommended minimum is between 25 and 38 grams depending on age and sex. That gap is not a small statistical detail. It is the daily cause of constipation for millions of people. Aim to close that gap gradually over 2 to 3 weeks, not overnight, because a sudden jump in fiber without enough water can make bloating and gas worse rather than better. And that brings me to water, which is criminally underrated. Fiber without enough water can actually make constipation worse. Picture fiber as a sponge. Without water, it does not do its job. It stays dry in the colon and adds to the problem instead of solving it. For most adults, that means 6 to 8 glasses of water a day as a baseline. More if you are active in a hot climate or consuming a lot of salt or caffeine. Spread that water out through the day rather than drinking it all at once. Around midday and after each main meal, go for a 20-minute walk. Your colon is directly connected to your body's physical activity. Walking in particular stimulates something called the gastrocolic reflex, the same reflex that gives you the urge to use the bathroom after eating. When you move your body, you move your gut. People with a sedentary lifestyle consistently show slower colon transit times. Even a short walk after a meal can meaningfully lower your risk of constipation over time. This does not need to be a fitness routine. A walk around the block, a few laps around your living room, or a walk down the hallway of your building all trigger the same mechanism. If you have joint pain that limits walking, gentle seated movement, turning your torso from side to side, or slowly pulling one knee towards your chest at a time, still stimulates the colon meaningfully. The goal is movement, not intensity. Now about your position on the toilet, because this surprises almost everyone. In our modern seated position, the rectum and anus are not perfectly aligned. When you sit upright with your hips at 90 degrees, a muscle called the puborectalis creates a kink in the anorectal canal. This is a natural feature that helps you stay continent, but that same kink makes complete emptying harder. When you squat or place a small stool under your feet so your knees rise above your hip level and lean slightly forward, that muscle relaxes. The kink straightens out and stool passes with far less strain. This is not folk medicine, this is anatomy. And it is backed by studies showing reduced straining, less time spent on the toilet, and more complete emptying in the squatting position. A $6 step stool from the pharmacy can genuinely change your experience. While you are sitting there, stop pushing and breathe instead. Inhale slowly through your nose for about 4 seconds, then exhale gently through slightly parted lips for 6 to 8 seconds. Straining creates a sharp spike in abdominal pressure, and that pressure gets transferred straight to the veins around your rectum, which is exactly how hemorrhoids develop over the years. A slow exhale accomplishes the same gentle push without that spike. And whenever you feel the urge during the day, respond to it. Do you not override it again and again because the timing feels inconvenient? That urge is your body giving you a real window, and the more consistently you honor it, the more reliably your body will keep sending it. Now, let's talk about the red flags, because not every case of constipation is the same. And part of what I want you to take from this video is the ability to tell the difference between what you can manage at home and what needs professional evaluation right away. If you have gone more than 3 days without a bowel movement and olive oil, adequate fluids, fiber, and movement are not helping, call your doctor. If you are experiencing severe abdominal pain or cramping along with constipation, do not wait. That level of discomfort needs to be examined. If you notice blood in your stool, even a small amount, even if you assume it is just a hemorrhoid, tell your doctor. Blood should always be evaluated in the context of any change in bowel habits. If you have a significant and unexplained change in your regular bowel pattern, meaning you were always regular and suddenly develop chronic constipation with no obvious cause, that is worth a conversation with your doctor. Changes in stool pattern that are new, persistent, or accompanied by weight loss, fatigue, or bloating should be evaluated. This is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to give you the knowledge to advocate for yourself. Your doctor may order a colonoscopy if you are over the recommended screening age, or if the change in habits is new, a stool test for hidden blood, or blood work checking thyroid function, since an underactive thyroid slows the whole digestive system down and is one of the most overlooked hidden causes of chronic constipation. Ask about ferritin as well, since low iron stores contribute to fatigue, and fatigue makes people move less, which slows the gut further. One more sign worth mentioning, an older adult who suddenly becomes confused or seems unlike themselves alongside severe constipation should be seen immediately rather than waiting until morning, since impaction in older patients can sometimes present this way. Surgeons and gastroenterologists are not people you should feel embarrassed approaching. A colorectal surgeon colleague of mine once told me that the patients who suffer the most from chronic constipation are the ones who wait far too long to bring it up simply because they feel awkward. He said that in his entire career, he has never once judged a patient for a bowel complaint. People suffer needlessly for months or years because they assume the conversation will be uncomfortable. Left untreated, severe blockage can lead to tears in the rectal wall, pressure sores inside the bowel, and in the most extreme cases, a perforation where the pressure from impacted stool actually tears through the intestinal wall. That is a surgical emergency with a real mortality rate, and it almost always begins as something manageable that was ignored for too long. So here is your full daily plan in one place as a mental cheat sheet. First thing in the morning, 1 teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil on an empty stomach. 20 to 30 minutes later, a breakfast with both soluble and insoluble fiber. Water spread evenly through the day, 6 to 8 glasses at minimum, a 20-minute walk after your main meals. A footstool under your feet on the toilet so your knees rise above your hips, slow breathing instead of straining, inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 6 to 8, responding to the urge the moment it arrives instead of postponing it, and watching for the red flags we just covered. More than 3 days without a bowel movement despite these steps, severe pain, blood in the stool, or an unexplained change in your normal pattern. Write in the comments the phrase, "I will breathe" instead of "push." When you write down an intention, your brain shifts from simply listening to actually acting, and that small act of writing out makes the habit more likely to stick. All information in this video is educational and does not replace a diagnosis or treatment plan from your physician. Please consult your doctor before making significant changes if you have chronic conditions or take medication regularly. If this video was useful to you, please leave a like and subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel reach people who are quietly struggling with the exact same thing.